Dear Psyche, what do you think of children? I hear some Decepticon leaders have a soft spot for them. Some Decepticon leaders are severely lacking in taste. Actually, let me amend that statement to strike the word some. Of course, children occasionally have their uses. My thruster had gotten the drop on Leader One's command center in the Snake Nebula, and we were pursuing. Suddenly, a giant eyeball appeared out of nowhere, a free-floating sphere that focused first on us, then on the Guardians. Cop-Tur was close to panicking, though of course I kept my head. A booming voice filled both ships. Creatures of Dimension 4, break off your hostility. We of Dimension 13 have an urgent task, which supersedes your petty feud. A child who needs supervision for 48 of your time units. Which of you shall accept this task? Crasher, exhibiting a stark lack of imagination, suggests we let the Guardians handle it. They're used to babysitting lesser life forms, but I barked at her to shut up. Of course we shall accept custody of your offspring. I shall treat the child as if it were my own. Crasher asked what I was doing, and I whispered for her to be quiet. If the child was a tenth as powerful as the parent, we'd have a potent weapon. A glow suffused Thruster's bridge, and a 12-foot-tall green toddler with long, floppy ears appeared. Keep Malphilia safe, or there shall be consequences. The eye faded from existence, and we were alone with the child. Cop-Tur piped up that the Guardians were getting away, and asked if we should attack them. Malphilius laughed and said, let me. I was delighted, and pointed at the smoking ship on the view screen and told Malphilius to blow them away. The little scamp nodded, puffed up his cheeks, and blew. And the solar wind hit the Guardian ship and nudged into hyperspace. I was furious, but Malphilius's eyes shined with tears, and he whimpered that he thought I wanted him to blow them away, which he did. What choice did I have but to relent? We tracked Leader 1 to a small Guardian observation asteroid, where they had set their command center down for repairs. The automated defenses were too dense to get the thruster in, so I opted to keep the ship's stealth device active and go in and personally finish the job. Malphilius was keen to accompany us, and I despaired of what mischief he might get up to alone on the ship, so we took him on the assault. As we entered the base, Cop-Tur banged his head on a low beam. I whispered at him, furious, Cop-Tur, you idiot, this is a stealth mission. Stay quiet as a mouse. He got halfway through his typical sorry when his E changed pitch. I looked down, and where my loyal opinion had been standing, there was a rodent. I shouted for Malphilius to change him back, and he shrugged and did so, but it was too late. My own roar of displeasure had summoned the Guardians. The firefight quickly became a standstill. We had failed to achieve surprise, but the Guardians couldn't outflank us to get an advantage. Despite failing us twice, I opted to give Malphilius a third chance to get it right, though I warned the little twerp that my patience with him was running thin. He asked what I wanted done, and I told him I didn't care, so long as I never had to look at Leader 1 or the Guardians ever again. He waved his hand, and the Guardians vanished. It appeared that the third time was indeed the charm. I was of course delighted. Very good, Malphilius, very good indeed. Now, Cop-Tur, Crusher, we have unrestricted access to a Guardian observation post and command center. Let's take advantage, shall we? I directed Cop-Tur to finish repairs on the command center, intent on flying it back to Rogue Star, so Dr. Go and I could learn of all its weak points. I went to the observation asteroid's computer core so that I could download the latest Guardian intelligence reports. I left Crasher to babysit Malphilius, cautioning her not to accidentally blast him. What I didn't realize was that Leader 1, Scooter, and Turbo hadn't been disintegrated at all, but made invisible. Leader 1 was quick to realize what had happened, and split up his forces to harry me and mine. In the computer core, Scooter kept switching wires and plugs around as I worked, causing me to trip, erase data I was intent on downloading, and give myself a nasty shock. Turbo allowed Cop-Tur to finish repairs on his vessel, but then locked him out of the ship, and Leader 1 began whispering to Malphilius, sowing dissent with Crasher's admittedly brusque manner. Finally, I realized that, whatever was going on, Malphilius was to blame. I rushed down to the docking bay where I had left Crasher and the troublesome toddler, arriving just in time to tune out Cop-Tur's babbled excuses. Enraged, I pointed a finger at Malphilius and shouted at the child, "Listen, you little brat, tell me exactly what is happening, or I shall make you wish you were never born." He collapsed on the floor and started pounding on the ground with his fists, wailing. A piece of advice: never make a toddler with godlike powers have a temper tantrum. The asteroid started shaking apart, so I called for us to get to the thruster. Crasher asked, "What about the brat?" and I snarled to leave it. I had had enough. We got to the thruster and departed. Leader 1, however, couldn't leave well enough alone, and picked up the screaming child and soothed it by rocking it back and forth, even as his force field deflected falling pieces of debris. Once the child was calm, he asked if it wanted to ride on a fun car, prompting Turbo to moan, "Oh no, you're not suggesting what I think you're suggesting." Cut to the command center, where Turbo, invisible of course, but in my mind's eye he is transparent so as to better showcase the action, drove to the ship with Malphilius clinging to his roof. Scooter flew ahead to start up the engines, and Leader 1 trailed behind, blasting any stray pieces of rubble threatening the child. The command center took off just in time to avoid the explosion as the observation asteroid blew up. A few hours later, the eyeball returned, and the same voice thanked the now visible Guardians for the exciting time they had given little Malphilius, and hoped it wasn't too much of a handful. They asked if there was anything they could do, and Turbo blurted out that he needed a week in a body shop to pound out the dents their little boy gave him. He glowed, and in a moment was good as new. The eye disappeared, and Scooter took his lummox of a companion to task. "Gee, Turbo, we could have asked for world peace, or at least to get their observation asteroid back, and you wasted it on getting a few dents hammered out?" Turbo's eyes went wide when he realized just how big an opportunity he had squandered. Aw, nuts. This prompted a round of laughter from all present.